The Mother in the Curse opens unhurriedly, establishing an atmosphere that is, at the same time, welcoming and suffocating. We are introduced to Helena, played with visceral intensity by Leandro Leal, an art restorer who moves with her 7-year-old son, Lucas, to an isolated mansion in the interior of Minas Gerais. The house, inherited from a grandmother she barely knew, is a labyrinth of dusty corridors and rooms frozen in time. The director, Gabriel Mascaro, uses cinematography masterfully in this first part. The color palette is desaturated, dominated by earthy and sepia tones that evoke the nostalgia of a past, but also its decay. Mascaro's camera is patient, gliding through the rooms like a silent observer, causing the mansion itself to become an omnipresent character. The first 20 minutes are an exquisite character study. We see the loving dynamic between Helena and Lucas, a bond that will become the emotional center and simultaneously the target of the looming threat. The curse does not present itself with a jump scare, but as a whisper. An unexplained creak in the floorboards, an object that changes place, Lucas's sudden aversion to his room. The sound design is crucial here, amplifying noises that would be mundane in any other context, turning them into omens of horror. The genius of this initial act lies in its ambiguity. Is Helena a single mother under immense stress, projecting her fears onto the environment, or are ancient forces truly awakening around her? The film makes us question the protagonist's sanity along with her, planting the seed of doubt that will blossom into absolute panic. The transition to the second act is marked by Helena's discovery, a hidden diary, and a series of strange carvings in the wood under the wallpaper. Here, Luca Silvestri's script begins to weave the mythology of the curse. This is not a generic demon, but an entity from local folklore, the Lady of Sorrows, a tormented soul who, according to legend, lost her son to the land and now seeks a child to take his place. Helena's research becomes an obsession, leading her to figures in the small nearby town who receive her with a mixture of pity and fear. The introduction of Donna Ephigenia, the local healer, in a chilling performance by Zizmata, serves as the voice of exposition, explaining the cyclical and possessive nature of the curse. Mascaro's direction reflects Helena's growing paranoia. The camera, once stable, now adopts subtle Dutch angles and shaky handheld movements. The world outside the mansion ceases to be a refuge and becomes an accomplice to the evil. The gazes of the neighbors seem to carry judgment and hidden knowledge. Lucas's behavior also changes drastically. He begins talking to an imaginary friend and drawing macabre figures that mirror the carvings found by Helena. The tension escalates exponentially. The threat, once auditory and suggestive, becomes visual. Figures in the corner of the eye, doors that slam violently. One scene in particular, in which Helena's shadow on the wall moves independently, is a feat of psychological horror that requires no grandiose effects. The film traps us in the protagonist's downward spiral, where the line between protecting her son and being the source of his terror becomes dangerously thin. The film's turning point is a devastating storm that completely isolates the mansion. It is here that the Mother in the Curse abandons all ambiguity and dives headfirst into explicit supernatural horror. The electricity goes out, plunging the house into near absolute darkness, broken only by the light of candles and lightning. This is the point of no return for Helena. The entity, the Lady of Sorrows, finally manifests more directly. She is not a physical monster, but a presence that takes over the environment. Her voice echoes through the house, sometimes like the cry of a woman, other times imitating Helena's voice to confuse and torment Lucas. The possession of the house is total. The production design shines in this act, with the settings subtly transforming. Damp stains on the walls that resemble crying figures, cracks that form in the ceiling. The terror becomes deeply personal. The entity doesn't just want the child, it wants to break Helena, feeding on her fear and her maternal love. The most impactful scene is a psychological confrontation in Lucas's room. Helena tries to calm her son, who is feverish and delirious, while the entity whispers doubts into her mind. You can't protect him. You brought him to me. It is a battle for her son's soul, fought within her own psyche. The climax of this third act occurs when Helena, in desperation, performs a protection ritual she found in the diary, using her own blood to create a salt circle. This defiant act seals her fate and sets the stage for the final confrontation, transforming her from a passive victim into a reluctant warrior. The fourth act is a tour de force of tension and emotion. Helena's ritual does not expel the entity, but enrages it, concentrating its power into one final desperate attack. The salt barrier is broken, and the confrontation becomes both physical and metaphysical. Mascaro creates a nightmarish sequence where reality distorts. Helena runs through the house, which now seems like an impossible labyrinth, with doors that lead nowhere and hallways that stretch infinitely. The Lady of Sorrows manifests using the mansion itself as her body, with the creaking of the wood sounding like the cracking of bones and the windows becoming malevolent eyes. The entity's goal is clear: to force Helena into an impossible choice, echoing the original tragedy that created it. It projects visions into her mind, showing a future where Lucas is consumed by the curse, and another where Helena must make a terrible sacrifice to free him. The emotional climax is not a fight with a monster, but a conversation between Helena and the manifestation of the lady, who takes the form of her own grandmother. We discover that the curse requires a guardian, a mother who voluntarily gives up her life to care for the spirit, appeasing it for a generation. The sacrifice is not death, but an eternity trapped in that place. Understanding that the only way to save her son is to become what she most feared, Helena makes her choice. In a heartbreaking moment, she says goodbye to Lucas, locking him out of the house, as she herself is consumed by the mansion's darkness. The thematic resolution is powerful. Maternal love is the most potent force in the universe, capable of facing evil and sacrificing itself for it. The ending of The Mother and the Curse is silent, melancholic, and profoundly unsettling. We see the morning light bathe the mansion. Lucas is found on the road by a neighbor, in a state of shock, but physically unharmed. The camera takes us inside the house one last time. It is clean, silent, and bright. It looks like just an old, empty house. But as the camera focuses on a reflection in a window pane, we see the silhouette of Helena, watching her son leave for safety. She is not a vengeful ghost, but a silent guardian, serving her sentence. The new status quo is bittersweet. Lucas is free, but at the cost of his mother's freedom and life. The film doesn't offer a happy ending, but a meaningful one. The curse was not destroyed. It was merely transferred. Helena has become the new Lady of Sorrows, and the cycle of maternal pain and sacrifice continues, lying dormant until new victims arrive. The final verdict is that this is an instant classic of Brazilian horror. It transcends cheap scares by building a narrative about the deepest fears of motherhood. The fear of not being able to protect your child, the fear of the ultimate sacrifice, and the fear of what we inherit from our past. Leandra Leal's performance is one of the best of her career, and Mascaro's direction proves that the most effective horror is that which settles into our psyche and refuses to leave, like the echo of a cry in an empty house. The film doesn't just scare you, it haunts you. And that was our in-depth analysis of The Mother and the Curse, a film that proves that true terror resides in the heart and in the bonds we try to protect at all costs. If you enjoyed this journey through the dark corridors of this masterpiece and want more detailed analyses that go beyond the obvious, don't forget to subscribe here to the Minute Recaps channel. Your subscription is what drives us to continue dissecting every detail of the cinematic universe for you. Now I want to hear your opinion. What did you think of Helena's sacrifice? Which scene made you the most tense? And most importantly, what's the next movie you want to see analyzed here? Leave your suggestion in the comments below, because the next analysis could be yours.